All right, I'm back from out of the country. Looks like I only got one person logged on right now, but a few more will join here pretty quick, I'm sure. Sorry I missed last week. If you're just now joining, you didn't hear the week before, I was out of the country on business and just so incredibly busy. I just did not have time to log in and stream. I really wanted to, but just couldn't do it. I need to get into the live video over here so I can see the comments section when they come on. Give me a second here. Oh, I'm shaking the camera. There we go. Oh, hold on a minute, guys. Sorry, everybody's joining in. Give me a second here. I'm trying to get to the video so I can watch the comments section as they come in. Okay, I think we're good to go now. 13 people already, so missed you guys last week. Again, sorry I couldn't make it. Eureka, Fremont, North Carolina. So Saul's Little Farm. Okay, there we go. Hey there. Welcome to the live broadcast. Roy Jenkins, Stillwater. I remember that. Stillwater, Roy Jenkins. Welcome back. All right, while we're waiting on everybody to join here, I'll just kind of tell you how my trip went last week. I was in Santiago, Dominican Republic. And in case you're wondering, no, I don't speak Spanish. Not many people down there speak English. I think the extent of my Spanish is like hola and gracias. So it is a little bit weird after being down there for a week, coming back to the States and then running into new people and not saying hola whenever I do. But I'm making it okay. Hey, Andrew and Jen Spice. Victoria, British Columbia there. Golly, we got people all over the place. Landon from Kentucky. Ohio, C. Hunley's Reptiles and Exotics. Welcome, guys. Thanks for joining. I don't have a specific topic picked out for tonight. Just thought I'd tell you. I will tell you one thing. Don't drink the water down there. It was, well, let's just put it this way. I got home last night. I didn't get much sleep last night, and I stayed home sick today. I just worked from home. Been feeling kind of rough, so if I have to end this broadcast pretty early, you'll understand why, hopefully. I haven't even shaved. I look pretty rough right now, but hopefully you guys will forgive me. I didn't want to make you go 2 weeks without a live broadcast. Let's see, we got June from New Hampshire, Lane from Kansas, from Finlay, huh? Andrew from Finlay, C. Hunley. I don't know what C. Hunley means. But welcome to the broadcast. Glad you guys joined. Sorry, getting distracted by the comments section there. All right, so what do we want to talk about this week? What questions you guys got? Anything? Andrew's the other user in Ohio. Okay, that's it. And George from Greece. I see some of you guys, I'm terrible with matching names up, but I recognize the avatars from the comments section, so thank you guys so much for watching the videos, for commenting on here. You want to know, let's see, Roy wants to know if I would talk about the different ways to prepare quail. You've been mostly frying or barbecuing on the grill. You know, those are two good ways. I do them under the broiler in the oven quite a bit. You know, the broiler is, I don't know, 500 degrees, 450, something like that. About 4 minutes on each side. They're pretty decent baked, but they need to be cooked hot and fast. So when you bake them, you want to turn your oven up pretty high, you know, 400 degrees. And if you put them in a roasting pan, somewhere around 12 minutes, something like that, and they should be done. Really don't want to overcook them. Andrew said, or C. Hunley says you're in Springfield. Is that Springfield? Is it Springfield, Ohio? Springfield, Illinois? Not Springfield, Missouri, right? That's only just a short hop from here. That's where I flew in and out of yesterday. Well, flew into yesterday, flew out of last week. Again, sorry I couldn't broadcast last week. I just had too much work going on, too much business, and just couldn't get away to do that. I really wanted to give you guys a live broadcast from down there in Santiago. It's kind of a neat little city. It's, I say little, 600,000 people, so it's a big city. But I was going to broadcast from the hotel. The balcony that oversits and overlooks the city and mountains in the background. It would have been pretty cool. Yeah, you see Max off there in the background. He's growing like a weed, getting big. Being rotten as can be. Most time he's a pretty good dog, really. All right, so Roy, did that kind of help you out with the different ways to prepare quail? You know, what I usually do with them is I kind of marinate them. I just marinate them in a mixture of maybe some olive oil or some regular cooking oil, a little bit of honey, some lemon juice, whatever herbs I got on hand, parsley, sage, rosemary, thyme. Sounds like a song, doesn't it? But they're pretty good herbs to marinate with. Marinate them for a couple hours, maybe overnight. Throw them in the oven under the broiler. They turn out pretty good there. You don't want to overcook them again. You want to cook them hot. You want to cook them fast. The meat's still going to be just a little bit on the pink side. It's not underdone. That's just the color of the meat. All right, so Roy Jenkins says, you're pretty sure you were going to say hot and fast everything. What? Oh, hot and fast. Everything else you've tried makes them dry. Yeah. You know, a lot of people will talk about brining quail. Not really a good option. I mean, you can do it, but it doesn't really do anything for them. Brining's more for long, slow cooking. And quail are really hot, fast. That's how you want to cook them. If they're coming out dry, you're probably overcooking them. So cook them just a little less. Get a thermometer and check it with the thermometer. And that'll tell you when they're done. 165 is what you want in the thickest part of the breast. And that'll tell you when they're done. But a little bit, you know, again, overcooking them, it's very easy to overcook because they cook so fast. And that will make them dry, it'll make them tough, just not very good. Alright, I may not be very exciting tonight, guys. Like I said, I've been sick for the most part of the night and most part of the day. I think I'm over it, but I'm not real sure. But I'm feeling kind of weak and not quite myself. So forgive me if I am not quite as excited as normal, not quite as you know, upbeat as normal. And I cannot read that. I think that's in SSVVV. I don't know what you're saying there. That looks like it may be in like Chinese or something. And I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. It's probably not Chinese, but it doesn't look like English. So I'm sorry, I don't know what you're saying. Well, let's see. While we're waiting on some other comments to come in, tell you what's going on around here. The grow outs are growing out really fast. I might show them on the next video just to give you guys an idea of how they're doing. Doing pretty good back there. My wife took care of them for me while I was gone. Still getting plenty of eggs from the regular quail. I butchered all the extra roosters I had. That was last week's video. Showed you what I do to choose which roosters are going to stay, which ones are going to go. I got all those butchered. We ate those for dinner. We did those on the barbecue grill with a little bit of barbecue sauce, and they were pretty darn good. Oh, so Brandon, you couldn't find me on here because you weren't getting notifications. Well, you know, there's something, you can go up to that bell icon. Whoops, so pointing, I don't know if it's up there on the screen or not, but there's a bell icon where you can click it and it will send you notifications. You can click that. I don't remember exactly how to do it, but it should be pretty self-explanatory. All right, rabbits are doing good. It's starting to cool off around here, so I'm getting ready to start breeding rabbits again. If you guys want to see some videos on that, let me know the topics you'd like to see on that. All right, Andrew's asking, how long after 17 days should you wait before giving up on the eggs hatching? Give it till about day 23, somewhere right around in there. That's about whenever I give up. I've had birds hatch as late as day 21, 22, and do just fine. So give them till like day 23, and that should be plenty of time. If they haven't hatched by then, they're probably not going to, and if they do, you might have some issues with deformities and some of those kinds of things. I always say this, you guys probably already know this, but make sure you have an external calibrated non-digital thermometer to check your thermostat, because if they're not hatching early, then it's probably because the temperature is a little bit low. So that'll help with that. Okay, well, Brandon, you said you did that whenever you first subscribed. Thank you very much for subscribing, by the way. Sorry you're not getting the notifications. If there was some way I could fix that, I would do that. But about every Thursday night, about 7 o'clock is when I try to join in. I'm a little bit late tonight. I had to run an errand. Took me a little bit longer than expected, and I didn't get back home quite in time. Roy Jenkins wants to know about candling eggs. You know, that's a good idea when it comes to candling your eggs. Who was it that said so? Andrew, when you said their birds haven't hatched on day 17, you can take them out and candle them. If you've got like a super bright flashlight, hold the egg over it, block out all the light, maybe make a little paper cup that sits on top of the flashlight you can set the egg on, and shine the light through it. You should be able to see if there are quail developing in there. It'll be real dark, and if it shines all the way through, nothing's developed. Or if you see blood lines, you might see those in there. That means the bird probably died early in development. So that's a couple of things you can do to see if your eggs are still viable or not. Thanks, Roy. That was a good reminder. June Holmes says, do you let a bunch hang out together or keep one male with two females? I'm not sure if, I think you're talking about quail maybe. I don't know for sure, June. As far as quail go, I put one male for every 4 to 5 hens, and they just stay together all the time. With my rabbits, when it comes to rabbit breeding, it's always take the female to the male, let them breed, and then the female goes back to her cage. You don't leave them in there for extended periods of time. The females can get very aggressive, and they can go so far as to castrate the male if you leave them together unattended for very long. And let's see, where are we at? Brandon Smith says, I've had a bunch incubating also. Well, good. Hopefully you have a good hatch rate. Brian Roderick says, can you breed the jumbo quail to the regular quail? Yeah, they're all the same species. Jumbo quail are just anything over 10 ounces. Anything under 10 ounces are the regular quail. They usually come in somewhere around 7 to 8, somewhere right around in there. But yes, you can interbreed those. They will produce young. May not be quite as big as the jumbos. Maybe, who knows? You're going to get probably a mix that are about the size of regular, a mix that are the size of jumbos, and some that are kind of in between. But they will interbreed, no problems. Bird Breeder says, good evening from New York. Well, hey, welcome from New York. Glad you made it. Lane W says, just had a really good hatch rate, 29 of 33. That is a really good hatch rate. Congratulations on that. My hatch rate's been a little bit low lately. But I think that it's my thermometer issue. I need to recalibrate those thermometers and try again. I'm not incubating any right now, but I probably will in the next couple of weeks. Whenever these grow outs here hit butcher weight, I'll get them in the freezer, and I'll set a new batch of eggs and start all over again. Actually, I could start right now because they're less than 2 weeks from being ready to butcher. And you know, by the time you start incubating, you've got 17 days before they hatch, and then they're going to be in the brooder for 2 weeks before they grow up to go to the grow out pen. So that's the better part of 3 weeks. So really right now, whenever these guys are like 3 to 4 weeks old, I could start a new batch and my grow out pen would be empty. And I think I'm going to build a new grow out pen. If you guys have been watching my videos, you might have seen my grow out pen. A buddy of mine gave it to me. I don't really like the way it's set up. I think I'm going to build another one that's just like my other hutches out here. I like those doors that open down. You know, people have always asked me why I did that. Well, one of the reasons I did that, my thought initially anyway, was that if I leave them unlatched, they're going to fall down and I'll know they're unlatched, so I can hook them back up and close them back up and whatnot, and I won't accidentally leave them open. But what I found is that this other one where the doors open forward, the birds just want to come pouring out of the quail hutch whenever I open that up, and opening it down towards me kind of keeps them back in there a little bit. So that's the way I'm going to go with my next grow out pen, the same way I've got my other hutches right now. All right, Bird Breeder says, you're new to quail. They have just started laying, and we noticed that some of the eggs have like a white coating. Is that extra calcium showing on the eggs? You know, it could be extra calcium. It's nothing to worry about. I noticed that on some of mine. It's like a chalky coating. I'm assuming it is extra calcium. If you're giving extra calcium to your birds, you don't need to give extra calcium to your birds. Check your feed, and as long as your feed has about 1.5 to 2% calcium, that's all you need. So if you're giving extra calcium, you might stop doing that because it's just not really necessary. And in fact, too much calcium can be bad for your hatch rates because it makes the shells too thick. The birds won't be able to get out of the shell whenever they try to hatch. And there's other issues that could be caused by too much calcium. I see all the time in the quail groups where somebody says they got a bad egg, a small egg, an egg with no shell in it, and the first thing everybody jumps to is add extra calcium. Not necessary. Your quail lays so many eggs that they just lay an off one every once in a while. So I know that's not what you were asking, but it kind of reminded me of that and made me think to cover that real quick. All right, Andrew says you got 8 out of 48. A little disappointed building a fridge incubator soon. I'm sorry to hear that. Bad hatch rate there. You know, check your thermometer, check your temperature if you haven't already. That's usually what it comes down to. Hopefully that helps. All right, Brandon Smith says, hey, Chris, do you know where St. Joe is? And yes, I know where St. Joe, Missouri is. Uh-oh, I lost your comment. Let me scroll up and read the rest of that. Okay, do I know where St. Joe, Missouri is? That's where you're from. You moved here from southern West Virginia about 20 years ago and just went to Springfield this summer for prime CDL school. What is CDL? Driving? Truck driving, I think? That's probably what it is. Missouri's a big state for truck driving. So awesome. Springfield's just 60 miles west of here. You're pretty close to my neck of the woods, actually. Hopefully you're liking Missouri so far. I'm a little biased. I grew up here, but I do love the Show Me State. I love the people around here. Most of them are pretty good people. All right, let's see. Gabriel Cater says, good evening from Canada. You're reading on the web and every website is different. Your question is, do you deworm your quail? And what do you use, and what is the withdrawal on eggs? No, I don't worry about deworming my quail, but my quail are in raised cages, so I don't really have problems with quail or with worms in my quail. I haven't noticed any anyway. If you do notice them, then just go down to the local feed store, ask them for a dewormer for birds. You'll have to adjust the ratio. It'll tell you how much to use for chickens. You probably want to use a very small amount for that. Try to get something that's water soluble that you could add to the water. That'll be a little bit easier. I don't know the specific names of them, but you could find them. And you'll have to check, depending on what you get, what the withdrawal. Usually it's about 30 days before you want to start eating the birds. But you might go, 45 or 60 days. So just, you just add that to it for whatever the recommended thing is. And then once you stop adding that, wait at least 45, maybe 60 days before you butcher those birds and eat them. I wouldn't even eat the eggs, really, honestly. Honestly, if my birds got worms, I would probably just butcher them. And, there's no problem if your birds get worms to eat the meat. You're cooking it. It's going to be fine. There's no problem with that at all. I have not had an issue with that whatsoever. If you keep them on the ground, you might have a little bit more likelihood of getting those. But I don't know that it's that big of a risk. I don't worry about it. I don't pre-treat for any of those kinds of things. I wait till I have a problem, then I treat for them. Hopefully that answers that question. All right, Roy Jenkins says, when you build it, if you don't mind, take some video of the build if you have time. I might do that. I might take some video. It'll be just like my quail hutch that's on the big crate out there, the smaller one. That's the quail hutch I'm going to build. And I've already got the frame kind of cut out. I don't have it all put together. Pretty simple, easy build. It's not complex at all. So I might shoot some video on it. I did shoot some video on my white hutch when I built it. You can go back in my videos and watch that. I think it was building outdoor quail hutches or something like that. Sorry, I got distracted. I saw a red leaf up there. It's already coming up on fall. So, so maybe I will do that. That's a good idea, Roy. All right, Nicholas says, hello from El Paso. What made you decide to raise quail? Well, I wanted eggs and I wanted meat, and I looked at getting chickens for a little while, and then finally thought about quail. I can keep them in cages, small areas. They don't have to have nearly as much room to roam. They're not, I can keep roosters, because I live in town. I can't keep chicken roosters on hand, so I can't get fertile eggs out of chickens and hatch those out and grow meat birds. But I can do that with quail, so that's the real reason why I went with quail. I probably will add ducks to my mix at some point in the future, so you guys might start seeing some duck videos. And who knows, maybe chickens at some point as well. Okay, so Bird Breeder says, exactly, you're talking about the eggs with the chalky substance on them. You said no extra calcium, only a few of the 15 or 20 eggs daily has the odd appearance. I get those from time to time too. It's nothing to worry about. Just don't let it bother you. They lay all kinds of weird eggs, and they go right in with the rest of the eggs. They hatch out just fine. It's nothing extra. It's nothing to worry about at all. So don't stress. Let's see. What are you, Andrew Babcock is saying? Yeah, Babcock, that's right. You'll try, Roy. You can put a link on Slightly Redneck's Facebook page if that's okay with me. Oh yeah, you guys can put any links you want. Join the Facebook group instead of the Facebook page, because you'll be able to post on the group. And that's what I set it up for, so you guys can post on there. I'm not real great at posting on Facebook. In fact, I know there's some Facebook comments in that group and some Facebook posts that I need to go respond to, and I haven't done yet. Sorry about that. I'll get to it hopefully soon. All right, Damien from South Texas, I think you said. I'm losing comments. I got to scroll up again. From South Texas. I used to live in East Texas. I lived in Nacogdoches for a while. Texas is a great state. I liked it quite a bit. Just happy to be back home. Like I said, I'm a little partial. I grew up here in Southwest Missouri, and it is home to me. Toasted Rabbit. What a name. The Toasted Rabbit. Hooray, you made it to a live show. Thank you very much for joining. Glad to see you here. Well, and thank you very much for the kind comments. You said, hello, we raise quail too, and we're so glad to have me as a guide. Thank you very much. I'm humbled that you guys think so much of my videos. So glad that you like them. So glad that they're proving to be helpful for you guys. That's exactly why I do that. And I just appreciate everybody viewing, all your comments that you leave, joining my live broadcasts like this and interacting with me a little bit. It really makes it all worth doing. All right, Cowboy Colt says, just got local young quail last night and laid an egg in less than 12 hours in your enclosure, but they don't move too much. Is this because they are bored and need more space and the males haven't crowed yet? Is that because they're still too young? Thanks. Well, it depends on how old they are. More than likely, it's because you just got quail 12 hours ago. They might lay an egg right off the bat because they got it stored up already, but they're more than likely going to stop laying for at least a couple of weeks. Anytime you move birds, if you go pick them up from somewhere else, bring them in, you move them from one hutch to another or anything like that, they almost always stop laying. The males stop crowing for at least a couple of weeks, sometimes even up to a month. Hopefully it's not going to be that much. And the reason they're not moving around much is they're probably just a little freaked out. They just got moved into a new enclosure. They're not sure what to think of it yet. They'll calm down. They'll acclimate to it just fine. Just be patient with them. Try not to pester them too much. As long as you got plenty of light, at least 14 hours a day, then you should be fine. They'll start laying again. All right, Bird Breeder says, Muscovy ducks would be ideal for your situation. No noise. You have a flock of 6 in the city. Limits still, oh yeah, you're limited to 6. But no noise equals no complaints. You know, I thought about Muscovy ducks. I may do that. I hear they're fantastic eating birds too, but I've never tried them myself. Yeah, cowboy quail, young adult quail. Yeah, it's more than likely just because you moved them. Hang in there, give them a little bit of time. They'll start crowing. They'll start moving around. They'll start laying eggs again. Brandon Smith says, you just got into ducks. I bought some Peking ducks. Haven't slaughtered any yet, though. Well, you know, they slaughter just like everything else. Once you know how to do one bird, if you've done quail before, ducks are the same. They're just a little bit bigger. You probably want to pluck your ducks, though, and leave the skin on them, so it's a little bit different from that standpoint. But for the most part, pretty much the same process. Peking ducks is another breed that I've looked at. I may go ahead and get those, too. Oh, my goodness, my dog thought he was going to run into the table and knock everything over. He came barreling up here. All right. Hey, New York Tigress. Welcome to the live broadcast. Good to see you. And glad I can finally comment. You join these broadcasts so I can comment live to one of your comments when I can't comment on my other videos. All right. June Holm is saying, why some days do I get 5 eggs and other days I only get 2? You know, who knows why exactly. If you have plenty of light, do you have 14 hours a day of light? If you do, they should be laying a little bit more consistently than that, but I get a little bit, you know, some birds take a day off here and there, and sometimes you'll get like more eggs than the birds, like one bird or a couple of birds laid 2 eggs that day. Who knows exactly why that happens? Not really any rhyme or reason to that. Okay, Brandon Smith says, you're the reason I got into rabbits and quail. You've learned everything you know from me. Well, thank you so much. That, like I said, I am humbled by your guys' comments. Thank you so much for watching. So glad I could be helpful to you. Comments are coming in pretty fast, so if I'm missing your comment, I apologize for that. I'm trying to keep up with all of them. Toasted Rabbit says, do I struggle with seller quail? Any marketing? Oh, with selling quail. Any marketing advice? Yeah, I don't sell quail on a regular basis because the market around here is pretty saturated. There's lots of people with quail. They have them all the time. Really, I find the best thing is just post them on Craigslist or go to a local poultry swap. That's your best bet on it. Sometimes I've sold some before, but it's a lot of work and not really worth it, in my opinion, to do that. If you go big scale, you can market to restaurants, but the problem with that is you're going to have to be big scale. They want a very consistent supply, and you're going to have to do quite a few birds to be able to market to a restaurant, or even eggs for that matter. I've sold eggs before too, but it's not really that big of a business around here. I mean, like I said, it's too saturated. There's too many people doing it. So it's not consistent enough for me to focus on, and I just don't mess with it. I raise them for me. That's my eggs. That's my bird. That's my meat, and that's what I raise them for. Feed me and my family. Roy Jenkins said you had a raccoon bothering your quail at night, and they stopped laying for a while. Yep, any kind of stress will make them stop laying, and a raccoon coming around definitely would do that. You might try electric fence wire. I've talked about this before, but electric fence wire, take some aluminum foil, smear some peanut butter on it and fold it over in little tabs, fold it over that electric fence wire about every, I don't know, 3-4 feet. That raccoon comes up, he's going to smell that peanut butter, go over to it, lick it, bam, hit him with that electric fence, he'll be gone. That'll probably keep him out of there. So that's a thought. All right, Damien said, I just filled up my incubator again. Hopefully it's a good hatch. Do you know anything about James Marie Jumbo Quail? Yeah, I know a lot about James Marie Jumbo Quail. Very good quail. I've got my quail came from Kansas City quail farms, but they are James Marie quail. The jumbo meat makers, the jumbo pharaohs, very good birds. Great big, heavy birds, lay lots of eggs, bigger than regular quail even. So yes, you got some good eggs right there. Good luck with your hatch. Hopefully it goes well. Bird Breeder says, we don't do the eating thing, but the Muscovies are really friendly. Grow very large. The hens are fantastic mothers, similar to a silky in the chicken family. Interesting. I might try that out with Muscovies. I know a little bit about Muscovies. I know that they are not like a typical duck, and I think they may be the only native duck to the Americas. I think they're South American, if I'm not mistaken, and they're the only one native to the continent. All the other ducks are like domesticated, come from the Pekins and those kinds of things. They have almost like claws for feet. They'll perch, unlike other ducks will. So they like to get up in the trees and perch. I know a little bit about them. Have thought about doing it, just haven't gotten into it yet. Who knows? All right, let's see. What are you saying? Roy Jenkins says, 2 weeks ago, Chris recommended you using 1/2-inch hardware cloth over everything. I've not lost another quail, but they still try to get in. Well, you know, 1/2-inch or 1/4-inch hardware cloth is great because it is hard for them to get through. Haven't lost one yet, but they're still trying. Try that electric wire trick. I bet that will run them off. Okay. Gin Spice says, Muscovies are great meat birds. They hatch out for me every year without trying. Separate the ducklings from the flock, though, or you get 1 or 2. I lost it. I'm sorry. I got to scroll back up. Or 1 or 2 less baby birds each day. Oh, they eat the babies? Huh, interesting. I think that's what you're saying. Huh. I might try that, though, because they will brood their own, and they'll hatch their own out. That's a good idea. Andrew Babcock says, to the Toasted Rabbit, take some pickled eggs to bars and tattoo parlors. They will call for more, trust me. You know, that's a good idea, Andrew, but be very, very careful with that. There is no way to, no approved recipe to pickle quail eggs at home. You can't pressure can them and make them shelf stable, so they have to be stored in the refrigerator. You don't want to be selling pickled quail eggs. I'd stay away from it, honestly, because there is a risk, however slight it is, of botulism developing in that. And you don't want to be selling pickled quail eggs to restaurants, bars, or any of those kinds of things. Have somebody get botulism and die, because that could come back on you. And I'm not sure, but there may be some FDA requirements to sell processed, you know, canned foods like that. But it is something to be cautious about. All right, Bird Breeder says the male Muscovy do a loud hissing to communicate, and the females make small peeping noises. Yeah, your quail are louder than the ducks. Yeah, they're not very loud, so that's one of the reasons I'm thinking about adding some ducks. All right. Michelle Richards. Hi, everyone, from St. Kitts in the Caribbean. Nice. Could not find your video, but I'm here now. Love your videos. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching these videos, joining all the way from the Caribbean. If I ever make it down that way, you're going to have to recommend maybe a hotel or, you know, beach house, who knows. Something for me to stay in. Best way to cook quail eggs. This is June Holm asking. Best way to cook quail eggs, however you like them. I make omelets about every morning for my stepson. He eats a dozen quail eggs in the morning for breakfast, has a 12-egg omelet. They make fantastic omelets, in my opinion. Fried, over easy. A little bit hard to do over easy because they cook so fast, it's hard to keep the yolks running. But what I do when I do that is I crack several, 6 or 7 or even a dozen, and then I put them all in the pan together, so it's like one big egg with multiple yolks in it. And it works pretty well. Scramble them, hard-boiled, deviled. Switch them out in any egg recipe, about 4 eggs to 1 chicken egg. They work pretty well for all that kind of thing. I don't know many other ways. I've tried pickled eggs before. I didn't really care for them, but a lot of people like them pickled. My dog's going nuts again. All right, so Neri Manu, Chris, thanks for on the James Marie information. I was planning on getting eggs from him. It's not far from me. Well, good luck with that. If that falls through, and I don't know that he's selling to the general public anymore. I think he went, hang on, I gotta see what my dog's into. Okay, never mind. It's something he can chew on. I don't know that he sells to the general public anymore. You can see him back there running around with whatever he just dug out. I think he only sells to commercial breeders, so if that falls through, check out my video on where to get quail eggs. Kansas City Quail Farms carries his line of birds, and they can provide you with quail eggs. Great guy, and does a fantastic job of shipping the eggs, high quality. That's where most of my birds right at the moment have come from. All right. I started, yeah, Matoma, hopefully I'm saying that right. Matoma Martin, terrible with pronunciations. Yeah, I started a little bit late tonight. I had an errand to run. It brought me back a little bit later than I intended on doing. All right, somebody's asking, Cowboy Cold, ever asked about if I ever gave aquaponics a shot? I've never done it. I've considered it. Part of the problem is I live in southwest Missouri. It gets pretty cold here in the wintertime. So if I was going to do the standard like tilapia, which I don't really care for tilapia. To me, they're kind of a bland fish, not really that good for eating. But if I was going to do that, I'd have to do something heated to keep them heated in the wintertime or they're going to die out. There are some other fish that you could do. Dog. There are some other fish that you could use, bluegill, catfish, some of those kinds of things. It's a little bit harder to get those things to breed in captivity. And of course, doing aquaponics, you don't have to have a fish yield from it, but that is kind of the big thing from that. I do a lot of self-watering containers, subterraneous watering containers. Love those things. I've done a couple of videos on there. They do fantastic on my peppers, my strawberries, all those kinds of things. I took you guys around and showed you all that at one time. But I actually haven't done aquaponics yet. Brandon Smith wants to know how the married life is treating me. Fantastic. My wife is great. And we've adjusted well. Our house looks like a hoarder's house right now because we're still trying to deal with 2 households of stuff together, what to get rid of, what not to get rid of. But we're working through that. Things are going great. No, you're right, Cowboy Colt. Fish don't make noise. That's true. All right, Jen Spice says, duck meat mixed with rabbit meat. Uh-oh, did I lose the connection? Nope, I think we're back. Okay, good. Duck meat mixed with rabbit meat, ground up, makes the best sausage. Use all the extra duck fat and grind it in as well. Yeah, and the rabbit livers. Always add liver to your sausage mix. I bet that would make really good sausage. Oh, yeah, New York Tigers. I've seen you mention that before. A cake pop machine works wonders at cooking quail eggs. You know, the little cake pops that come with the little tins. They're kind of like muffin tins. And you can put your eggs in there and cook them in there. They should do a really great job. I haven't done that personally, but I've seen it, and it looks fantastic. All right, Brandon Smith says, Pekins have a great feed-to-meat ratio, and they get very large. Yeah, I think if I was doing ducks, I mean, a meat ratio is good. I would like that, but I would really like the egg yield. Duck eggs are fantastic, and especially on a egg sandwich. You get that great big yolk. When you bite into it, it just runs all through the bread. Make the best egg sandwiches. All right, Roy Jenkins says, about a year ago, I asked you if your jumbo quail have equal size inside and outside toes, and the regular ones have a similar inside toe. Have you ever looked? Oh, you know, I vaguely remember that. No, I forgot to look at that. You're talking about the size of their toes? I don't know that there's any difference. I'll have to look at that. Maybe I'll remember to do that. I kind of forgot to. I'm sorry. Cowboy Colt says, you live in Oregon and doing rainbow trout. They're pretty hard. Yeah, but getting them to breed's difficult, isn't it? Do they breed in captivity for you? Because that would be the thing with rainbow trout, is getting them to breed in captivity. I think they grow out really, really slow, too. That's the appeal of tilapia, is they grow out really fast. They breed really easy in captivity, so you get a fish yield out of it. But again, I don't really think tilapia is all that great. I think it's kind of just a bland, nasty fish. It's not terrible. It's just not good, in my opinion. All right, Andrew Backhawk says you have 6 rowan ducks, lots of noise and mud. Yeah, and ducks are noisy. Well, ducks are muddy anyway. Depending on what kind of ducks you get, they make a mess for sure, and they can be noisy. Eric F. says you watched my incubation video, really helpful. Have 12 quail eggs. Well, good. I'm glad that can help you out. Good luck on your hatch. Hopefully it does well. Matoma comes back again and says, do you candle your quail eggs during incubation? You know, I don't. I just put them in at lockdown and let them go, and whatever hatches, hatches. I don't mess with quailing them. It's really pretty hard to candle quail eggs. Their shell's a little bit thick. Uh-oh, mosquitoes coming out again. And lights don't shine through them very well, in my opinion, so I just don't mess with it. It's a little bit of a pain, and it keeps them out of the incubator longer than I want to, so I just don't deal with it. All right, Roy Jenkins says, bass is excellent tasting. You can raise them for free in a pond. Well, it depends on where you live, because in a pond, yes, you could raise them, but there are regulations on sports fish and some of those kinds of things in some areas, and bass are a sporting fish. I don't even like bass all that much. To me, it's a little bit overly fishy. I prefer crappie, bluegill, goggle eye, rock bass, what we have around here. You probably don't know if anybody else has those in their area, but those are the fish I prefer to eat. They're very good. Bluegill would work, but you can't put anything but bluegill in there because they will take over. But it takes them a while to grow out to fillet size and make it worth it. Sunny V says, just had 4 out of 19 quail eggs hatch on day 15. Should I be concerned? Was thinking it's a good sign of health. Not necessarily concerned, but it may mean that they're hatching on day 15. First of all, make sure you get your days right. The first day that you start incubating is day 1, so not the next day. So it could be that they're hatching on day 16. I don't know. But either way, it does look like they're hatching just a little bit early. Probably your incubating temperature is a little bit high. Get you a calibrated, non-digital thermometer and stick that in your incubator and double check your thermostat to make sure it's reading correctly. That would be my guess. If everything hatches out, nothing to worry about. But yeah, that's probably a sign that your incubator temperature is just a little bit high. All right. Oh, let me get a drink here. Oh. All right, chat has slowed down. And I'm at a loss. This doesn't happen very often. I'm not usually just sitting here with nothing to say, but I don't have a whole lot to say. A little under the weather still, but I'll be okay. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the videos that have come out recently. I'm trying to remember what all I covered. Culling the quail, how to choose which ones. Talked about the grow outs. I've got a video coming out. I don't remember what next week's video is either, but it's already shot. Hey, Bird Breeder, good night. Have a good... Yeah, I'm going to be signing off here before long, too. Thank you for joining, and you have a good evening as well. TLC Mini Farm says, if you provide a sandbox, do the quails need grit? Quails don't need grit, period. They do fine without it. I do provide a sandbox just because they enjoy it, but it's not a requirement for them. If you do add a sandbox, what you'll find is they'll lay most of their eggs in the sandbox, and they'll be clean. So you won't have to deal with like all kinds of stuff stuck to them, you know, feces and all that kind of stuck to them when they lay them in the sandbox. That's the big benefit to having a sandbox. But no, they don't need grit. Can you use a human thermometer to check your temp in your incubator? Yeah, you can. What I do is I get meat thermometers. Make sure that when you buy a meat thermometer, it goes all the way down to 0, and it goes all the way up past 100. Of course, it'll almost always go all the way up past 100, but you want it to go up to like 300 or 220 degrees so you can get the boiling point and the freezing point and calibrate it. Make sure it has the right temperature range on it. Some of them don't go down below 100. You don't want those. Isabel, hello to you too. Brandon Smith says you had a litter of kits the other day and half the babies were missing a lot of their skin. Really? Do you know what that's from? She has had litters before. Flemish giant breed. They all died but one. Sounds like the mother may have got a little over aggressive with cleaning them off. Usually that's not common with mothers that are not first-time moms, but sometimes it happens a little bit with first-time moms. It could be something as simple as like rats too. Don't know. Sorry, I can't give you a more specific answer on it. That's a strange thing. If it keeps happening, I would get rid of that rabbit and not breed her anymore. Andrew Babcock says, have I tried raising mealworms? No, I haven't tried raising mealworms, but I do have a black soldier fly colony under my quail hutch, and I have taken the grubs out, the developing larvae of the black soldier flies and fed them to the quail from time to time. They'll eat them. They don't, it takes them a while to figure it out. They start picking at it, throwing it around a little bit, and they eventually eat them. They like them. But it's kind of funny to watch. It's a little bit difficult in the wire cages because they start throwing them around and they end up throwing them out and onto the wire, and they just fall right through the wire. So I kind of throw them in their sandboxes, they're a little bit bigger, and they manage to eat them that way. I was kind of interested, I have black soldier flies under the quail hutch. I think it's the spilled feed that caused them to be drawn to that because they're not usually drawn to manure. But boy, I'll tell you what, they just clean that stuff up. They really compost that whole pile just incredibly fast. So I'm happy to have them. Cowboy Quote wants to know how many quail should you have per square foot. Usually about 1 per square foot is a good measurement on a cage size, but you can pack them a little bit tighter than that and maybe do 1 per square foot depending on your cage size. You could, I don't know, maybe 1 per 3/4 square foot, something like that, and be fine with that, especially if they were all raised together and it's a wire cage. You can get away with a lot tighter packing than that. Matoma Martin, see you later too. Have a good night. Thank you for joining. Or is it daytime in Australia? I don't remember. And Michelle Richards is saying can't find those. Oh, can't find meat thermometers. Check on eBay or check on Amazon. They're all over Amazon, so if you can get orders from Amazon, that's a way to go. Should work pretty well. Really, as long as you can calibrate, as long as it's a calibrated thermometer or calibratable thermometer, it's going to work just fine. It doesn't have to be a meat thermometer. I do it because meat thermometers are cheap, easy to calibrate, and work really well. Yeah, Brandon Smith, you're saying you put a sandbox in and they loved it. Yeah, sandboxes are great. The quail do love it. They'll get in there and dust bath, play around in it. The only problem I have is trying to keep the sand in there. They throw it all out just as quick as they can. You see I have a nesting box. Do they like those? Oh, you're talking about my quail? It's not a nesting box. It's a sand box. That's what we were kind of talking about just a minute ago. I just put sand in there for them to kind of dust bath in. They won't really build a nest. I mean, occasionally you'll get a broody quail, but it's very, very rare that it happens. But yes, they do like... Oh, you're hearing the background? Sorry, it's a train. I live not too far from train tracks, and they're stopping by to... I don't know what they do over there. There's a train yard over there, but they're stopping by there. That's what it is. So no, back to that other question. Sorry, I get distracted, ADD or something. No, I don't put a nest box in there, but they do use the sandbox to lay most of their eggs in. It works pretty well for that. All right, how do I calibrate my thermometers? Having trouble knowing which thermometers to trust. Yeah, good point. So Matoma, it's 10:52 a.m. Friday morning in Australia. Thank you for joining. Weird time frame for you, I imagine. But thank you. Have a great day then. It's nighttime here. I'm getting ready to sign off here before long, go in, try to eat something. I'm a little bit nervous to do that, but I haven't eaten all day, so I know I need to. We'll see how it goes, and then go to bed myself. Okay, back to you, Jen. Want to know how I calibrate my thermometers. You know, we know a couple things. Water freezes at 32 degrees. It boils at, what is it, 220 degrees, I think. Don't quote me on that. I may be off on that. But most thermometers will have a point on there that says boiling point. So you stick the thermometer down in like a glass full of ice water. Like crushed ice would be best, as densely packed as you can get the ice. Stick it down in there, swirl it around for a little while, let it come down to temperature, and then mark how many degrees off you're off. So it's like 32 degrees is freezing. If it's at 30 degrees, you know you're 2 degrees off. Then you stick it in boiling water, and you see how far off you are on the boiling point. So if it's 2 degrees off on boiling as well, then when you match the two together, you're 2 degrees high on the freezing point, you're 2 degrees low on the boiling point. You want to add those two numbers together and then divide by 2 so that you can get in the middle, which would be 2 degrees. So you want to adjust your thermometer let me make sure I'm right there. Yes, 2 degrees down. Would that be right? No, actually it'd be 1 degree down. You want to split the difference on that if they're both under. Chances are they're not going to be. They're going to be both over, but hopefully that kind of makes sense. I'm not explaining it very well. I'm still, like I said, a little bit sick, not making much sense. Look up how to calibrate a thermometer online. They'll give you better instructions than I just did. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. You're not going to have problems with it. All right, Brandon Smith says good night. See you next week. Drive a trash truck, so I get up really early. Well, hey, good luck on getting up early then. And have a good night and a good day tomorrow. So Carla says, fun that I caught this. I am watching my first eggs hatch as we speak, figuratively anyway. Hey, I know how that goes. My dog is nuts. He's running around here like crazy. You guys can't see him. Well, hey, good luck on your hatch rate, Carla. Tracy Hedford says, hi, slightly. I may be late, but I made it. Well, thank you for joining, Tracy. I appreciate that. I'm getting ready to sign off here in just a few minutes. Not feeling very well tonight. And I got some things I got to get done before work. Yeah, I'll be fine, Andrew. I just, I think I drank some water or something or ate something that was bad. So just got to get it out of my system, unfortunately. Hopefully it's done. But, you know, I didn't get to sleep well last night, so I'm feeling kind of run down today. Well, guys, I think that, let's see, I'm home alone tonight with my stepson, and I think he needs some things, so I need to get off here, go give him a hand, make sure that he gets everything done that he needs to get done before bed. Thank you guys so much for joining this video tonight. Signing off just a little bit early, came on just a little bit late. I appreciate you guys. Everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next week, or on the next week's videos anyway. Thanks again, and God bless every one of you. Good night.